Hello, hello. It is Jackie and
Hilary.
And we are here. We are actually at the ILASCD conference, and we're both presenting tomorrow and Friday. And since we were here together, we thought we would show you guys all about all the flip books since we worked together to do this really awesome project, because Hilary is trained in science of reading. I am not. I do all the research, but she is formally trained. So to make sure everything is spot on and super correct, we worked on this together. So, yeah. So do you want to tell a little bit about who you are? All the things?
Well, my name's Hilary Statham. I'm from Tennessee, so that's always the first thing people ask me. Where is that accent from? But I have the Pencils to Pigtails page. I taught kindergarten for the most years, although I've been teaching 16 years. Right now I'm doing small group, kind of like reading intervention. I've taught ESL. Spent a lot of time in kindergarten, but everything from kindergarten through 5th grade. So, and I've just really been interested in the science of reading, especially when I was an ESL teacher, because there's just so much to learn to help our students learn how to read and get used to letter sounds and phonemes and all of the things. And so we wanted to come up with something that would make it easier for everyone to understand, because it can be very overwhelming.
It is. When you look at all the research, sometimes you're like, what is that? And the terms are confusing. So we made these really cool flip books. So there's 6 of them. We have one on alphabet knowledge, beginning sounds, compound words, syllables, rhyme, and then blending and manipulating sound, which is really kind of a CBC book. But since she's so knowledgeable about kindergarten, everybody's talking about how can we do science of reading? How can we bring it down into preschool and pre-K to make it appropriate? Because there's not a lot there. And I think that one reason why it's not a lot there is because a lot of the I say hard stuff because all the heart words and all of that, those kindergarten hard things, for me as a preschool teacher, like all of that needs to stay in kinder. We don't need to teach any of that. So we really need to teach just all of the phonological awareness skills. Yeah. And so we created these flip books because it's an oral language activity. They should be about 5 minutes.
Which is perfect. That's the perfect amount of time to spend on it.
Yeah.
And I think the way that we did it was that it would get a little more difficult as they get better and better at each skill. So
right. And in each flip book, we do have, because for me, especially as a preschool early childhood teacher, rather than kinder, we don't get a lot of the hard training and dig all the way into all of the teaching reading. So in each flip book, there is a little umbrella, and on each book, and each page pertains to the book. It has super simple definitions and a visual. So that way, if you are teaching this for the first time, or if you're kind of confused which is which, that'll kind of help you, and it gives you a great visual. Because phonological awareness is the big umbrella. Hilary, I'm going to let you explain this because you do it so much better than me.
Well, so a lot of people use phonological and phonemic kind of interchangeably, but they are different. Phonological is kind of the big umbrella.
I'm going to show this while you're talking.
And then phonemic awareness is a smaller thing that consists of, segmenting a word. So if your kids are able to take the word bat and say pat, that's segmenting the word or kind of manipulating the sounds there. And so there's so much to it, but it kind of helps, just this little visual helps you understand how phonemic awareness is a piece of phonological awareness.
Yeah, and then on all of the other parts of phonemic awareness, or phonological awareness, are like the syllables and the rhyming and
alliteration.
Thank you.
Onset and rhyme.
Yes, all of that. So also I think some other programs do kind of a phonemic or phonological awareness block that's like 5-10 minutes, and they do sounds and letter knowledge and syllables and rhyme, all of it together. And I think it's really confusing for kids because especially 3, 4, 5-year-olds, you really need to focus in on one skill at a time and kind of teach them what a syllable is, what that means, what it looks like, what it sounds like. And then once they have that skill, then go to rhyme or go back to beginning sounds, because kids don't know what the difference between a letter, a number, a sound, the beginning, the end, all of that. It's very confusing. So we'll go through the flip books and we'll show you each one. And each flip book has 30 activities in it, so you can use it for about 30 days. But don't think because, like, let's say you start off with doing the alphabet knowledge, this is really just learning all the different letters of the alphabet. And let's say you go to beginning sounds, and then you do compound words, and then you do syllables, and then rhyme. If your kiddos are doing great with rhyme, but then you're like, we're confused about syllables again, you can go back to the syllable book and do that book again for, 2 weeks. And then go back to rhyme and kind of circle back, because these books are great because, again, they're 5 minutes, so you can do the beginning, end of small group, circle time. If there's like a wait period in your classroom, that's a great time to do it. But you don't think you have to use them in order, or there is the developmental sequence, but if your kiddos are struggling with something, give that a break for a minute and go to another skill and then come back to it, because maybe later in the year they'll be ready because they'll have more skills behind them to be able to do that skill more, or do it with a deeper meaning and deeper understanding, or at a higher level.
And I like that they're on a ring like this. I just think that's so handy for teachers that, you're moving around the room a lot. You can bring it to your small group table. If it was hanging on your whiteboard, or you know how they have the rolling carts or easels.
Yep, you can put all of them on there.
It'd be easy to grab. Like if you realize there's something I need to go back to, and I'm going to go back to this flip book.
Right. Or maybe your group of kids has a hard time with syllables. You can do your syllable game, but at the beginning of your syllable small group, do a quick 5-minute warm-up of it. Yeah, that's a great. Oh, and then I wanted to tell you my cheat on not laminating the whole thing. So I laminated the cover and then a piece of white paper on the back, and then the middle pages are not laminated. Because if you're the one using it, you're not going to rip it, hopefully. But if you can just reprint that page and it's fine. All right, so we got the alphabet knowledge, and then each book starts with some teacher tips pages. And each one, even though they look the same, they are different. They have your umbrella with definitions and some of the terms simplified.
And I think some home connection.
Yes, and there's a homeschool connection piece. So for the alphabet knowledge, this is the only one I'll let you, I'm going to let her talk you through it.
So this one starts with the alphabet song.
Yeah.
And then you would introduce the letter. Let's get our mouths ready to make the sound. Ah is a vowel sound. Mouth is open. So it's got pictures to go with it.
Yeah, and each page is a different letter, and they are in ABC order. You can put them in an order that works better for you or for your students, or depending on what sequence that your school does them in. Or maybe do them in, like in preschool, we do like a lot of their names first. So maybe do all of the names, and then like M and D for mom, dad, or G for grandma, grandpa, and then do those other ones. But this is the only flip book where you need this visual with it, because we have the great mouth, and the letter, and then the sound. So,
And one of the big things, one big push with science of reading is to make sure your kids' mouths are, they look correct.
I'm going to flip through these.
So when I first started ESL, I noticed that a lot of my students were sticking their tongue out and over their teeth to say, ooh. And I had to get down beside them, put my head beside them, and we looked in the mirror together and practice the sounds. And so that's something you're going to talk to your kids about. So when you make when you do that sound, you should have your tongue touching your bottom teeth.
And then also at the bottom of these posters, we wrote an explanation on how to describe the mouth, because sometimes when you're teaching, you can't,
we don't think about it anymore. When you're, after you've been doing it for so long, you don't think about the way your mouth should be.
Right,
but it's something to check for sure.
Yeah, and also too, like maybe there's a behavior happening over there that another adult in the classroom is dealing with, and you're seeing that all out of the corner of your eye, kind of watching that. So your brain's not able to like pull all that information really quick. We have a little cheat at the bottom of each letter chart. So the flip book, for like each letter, we have, you sing the song, and then there's a say it, move it, and list it. So do you want to, we'll have Hilary be the teacher. She had this idea before we went live. We'll have her be the teacher, and then maybe the kid, and we'll kind of show you the Letter. Which one
So
is
I
this?
would kind of hold this
Yes.
up
Alphabet
while I'm
knowledge.
doing the flip book for this one.
So this would be on the board.
And I would say, this is the letter A. Let's get our mouths ready to make the sound. And then I would kind of show how the mouth is. And let's look at his mouth and try to make our mouth look like that. And then we would say, ah is a vowel sound. You can talk about how your tongue is touching your bottom teeth, which that's something we don't think about a lot, you know.
The mouth is open and tongue touches the teeth. And all of this is literally written on here. So for all of you who want a scripted lesson that I know I never have in anything, like these are scripted because it's supposed to be super, super fast. You read it and quick and fast, and it's great. So, and you sing the alphabet song first. We're gonna not make you listen to us sing.
We won't
sing
do
it.
that part.
And she told me about the letter A, and then
we would say A, ah.
A, ah.
And I would say, open your mouth, make the sound, ah, ah, ah.
Ah, ah, ah.
Can you feel your teeth with your tongue? Say the sound and pretend we are taking a bite of an apple. So that's what the teacher directions are. But you would just show your students and go, ah, ah, ah.
And you can say that part too. So that way the kiddos know what you're doing the first time. But again, like let's say you do this flip book, you do it in September. Let's say you want to revisit it in February. You can literally do this whole thing again. Or maybe just do the letters that all your students don't have. And then, we forgot to do the last part. It's list it.
List it. So I'll say a word that begins with ah, and you say it after me. Ant.
Ant.
Axe.
Axe.
At. Alligator.
Alligator. And we do have the long vowels are at the end of the book. We have the short A, the short vowels are with the alphabet, and then we have the long vowels at the end. Just so you know.
And there's some cute things in here, like when you're making p, p, it says, put your hand in front of your mouth. Now let's make the sound p, p. And the children can, try to feel the air coming out of their mouth. And that's been really helpful when I'm working with young students, just for them to realize what they need to do with their mouth.
And how
push the air out.
How their air needs to come out. And I know a lot of the speech therapists, if you have them coming in your room, a lot of them are doing this with your students. Now, also, I do want to remind you that some of your kiddos developmentally will not be able to say every single letter, especially my 3-year-old teachers. They won't be able to say every letter correctly yet, but we still need to practice it. And then as they get older, they will be able to say all of the sounds. So that's the beginning sound book. And it also comes with, and there's 2 alphabet charts. One that has the short and the long vowels, and one with just the short. And then this also does have parent notes with it too that you can grab. And it has the letter with like correct print formation, like a kinder print, and then the word, and then the mouth. And it Hilary wrote out all of this, and with like a little home activity, so to help the parents, because science of reading is new for us, which means it's really, really new for a lot of the families we work with, and they think that worksheets, let's just do worksheets, they'll get it, everybody learns how to read, it's fine. And that's not what the research tells us, so that will kind of help parents, and there's one for each letter, so you can send those home as well. And then now we'll show you the beginning sounds book. So it's on a ring again, because again, how cute is that? And then we have the teacher tips. And it, will you talk about the schwa, or how you don't add that extra sound?
Yeah, so you want to make sure that's something I was thinking about with parents. So if a parent is working with a child at home and they haven't practiced the science of reading, maybe they're remembering from when they were younger, they might tell the child to say "buh" instead of "p." So that's something, I think those parent notes really help with that. But you don't want to add that extra sound.
And one trick that's worked really well for me is, because I noticed that I did it with, I think it was 2 or 3 letter sounds. Pretend like you're going to say, like, necklace. Like, literally just either, like, stretch or pretend you're going to say the word and then stop without saying the rest. And you'll cut off those sounds. But really notice when you're saying those sounds with your students that you're not adding that extra sound, because your students are going to. Absolutely, because that's just what's easier to say. add that extra sound on the end. But that's my trick to like cutting off the sound for me as a teacher, because I noticed I was doing it for a couple sounds. So, and then also all the movements are really great. So for the beginning sounds, we use chopping hands. So you want to talk about what chopping hands are?
So we were just saying to put your hands together and make a chopping motion. So you're kind of chopping off the beginning sound of the word.
So for the beginning sound book, and we literally have all of it written out. Like, we are going to practice the beginning sounds. The beginning sound is the first sound we hear in the word. So it's literally a scripted lesson. You want to talk about the different parts for the beginning sound?
So the first part is the alliteration list, and it's silly sounds. So I'm going to say a silly sentence, and I want you to say what the beginning sound is. Millie mops the muddy mess. So, yeah, the children will try to figure out what is that beginning sound that they hear so much in the sentence.
And there's only 3 of those. So again, this is super, super quick.
And then can you think of words that begin with and students try to think of words that begin with
house, hair,
good,
Harry, my
Very
hamster,
good.
you know, like, because, you know, they'll tell you all the things about themselves.
And then I'm going to say a word, and you tell me the beginning sound. Cat. Good. So in the book, you'll notice that it shows the phoneme that you're thinking of, which would be K, right?
Right,
So,
which that's that sound. So anytime it has phoneme in the book, it has those 2 slants next to the word. I wonder if we have an example here. I'll show you really big. So, like, cat is really making that K sound, so it has K. So, again, that's why I had her help me with this, because I wanted to make sure everything was perfect and up to date with all the research. So,
then I'm going to say a word and clap them together. Then together we will chop the beginning sound off using our chopping hands. So, net.
at,
Good. Tap.
app.
Good. And then there's 4, I think, on each of those pages. And then find the same sounds. I'm going to say 3 words, and I want you to tell me the words with the same beginning sound and what the sound is. So if I say bed, zip, bug, what 2 words have the same?
Bed bug. Oh, hopefully nobody has bed bugs. And we're at a hotel. Not this one.
Then they would say buh, and try to figure out what sound that is. So I know we talked about 2, and this is in the teacher tips, but if it feels like a lot at first, you can just do the first couple of pieces. You don't have to do the entire page.
Right. So, like, for the beginning sounds, especially let's say you're doing this in the first half of the year with your pre-K kiddos, like, just do alliterations and then isolating that beginning phoneme. And then at the second half of the year, when you have built up all those skills and they have so much more knowledge about letters and sounds, then you can go back and you can do the whole page and add in the segmenting the onset and then noticing that same sound. Which is another reason why I love these flip books, because you can really use them all year long. And as your students progress, you can go back and pick up the parts they didn't do. Now, the beginning sounds, if you have 3-year-olds, I would do just the first 2 parts of this at the very end of the year. And then for CBC, I would not have 3-year-olds do that one, but your pre-K kiddos that spring semester totally could. But compound words, your 3-year-olds totally can do this book. So we'll show you this one. So we have the teacher tips pages again. Got all the little rings. And then we have more teacher tips, homeschool connection. And then we have the definitions page with ideas. And then the activity. We did. Yeah. So, and then on the compound words, the last activity is adding. Every other day it's adding or deleting. So I'll let you tell about that.
So it just says compound words are 2 smaller words that make bigger words. And then are you ready to practice compound words?
Yes. I'm so excited.
I will say the 2 words. You will blend the words together and tell me the big word they make. Okay? Starfish.
Starfish. Starfish.
Jelly bean.
Jelly bean. Jelly bean.
Good. And then, so I think there's 5 of those on each page.
Yeah.
So 5 that you'll practice like that. This time I'm going to say the compound word, repeat the compound word, and break it into 2 words. Okay, so we have watermelon.
Then we chop with these, right? Mm-hmm. Watermelon.
Mm-hmm. Actually, I think we open.
Oh, open for that one. Sorry.
Watermelon.
Watermelon. We tried to add
when you
movements.
say, yeah, you can clap when you say the word. You could say watermelon, watermelon, and then butterfly, butterfly. And then at the end, so there's 5 of those, and then we have adding words. Now I'm going to say a word, and you're going to add the word fish to the end. Say it, add it. Jelly. And so you'll say jelly and then jellyfish.
Jellyfish. Jellyfish.
Star.
Starfish. Starfish.
Clown.
Clownfish. Clownfish. Mm-hmm. And then on the opposite day, you would delete the word. Mm-hmm. And again, all of this is written out for you. And again, if you have 3-year-olds, maybe you're just doing the first 2 parts of the book. Mm-hmm. Or maybe you can do all of it. But sometimes the adding and deleting words are kind of tricky for some kiddos. So if your kiddos are getting frustrated or no one is getting it, delete that section of the book. And that does say it in the teacher tips page. But don't feel like they're horrible, like you're a horrible teacher, or they don't get it, or it's something you're doing. It's just the developmental sequence, and they're not ready for that part yet. So we just got to build all the other skills in the meantime.
I'm even thinking, so whole group, you could do the first 2 sections, and then you could pull just a few kids when you're working with them a little bit.
Yeah.
That are ready for it, if it felt overwhelming.
Yeah. And then for the syllables book, I'll let you open to that page so you can teach me about syllables. But so for the syllables book, we have some moves chart to kind of, again, research tells us, and we as early childhood teachers, that kids need to move, and when they move and they learn, all the different parts of the brain are firing, more connections are being made, and those connections are sticking. So we have syllable move options, and that way kids can kind of have some choice. And then we also have voices.
That's fun.
Like how much more fun is that going to be? Because sometimes I feel like
it's your robot voice, or baby voice.
Phonological awareness activities sometimes can get really boring, and which is again another reason why we made them super, super quick in 5 minutes. And also once you get to like probably what do you think, like day 6, 7, they're gonna start to know some of these routines, and it'll go even faster. But we tried to add movements to everything, but these are so fun. So do you want to teach me about syllables, Miss Hilary?
So syllables are sounds that make one word. Are you ready to practice?
Yes. Let's go.
I will say the syllables. You tell me what word it is. So we could do pencil. Oh. Pencil. And then I just say each one. Pencil. What is the word?
Pencil.
Flower.
Flower. Sorry, I literally didn't listen to her directions. I was reading something on the screen. Sorry. And I'm like, wait, what am I supposed? I'm the bad kid who doesn't listen.
Okay, this time I'm going to say the whole word, and you tell me the syllables. Zebra.
Zebra.
Mountain.
Mountain.
And syllables are a little bit tricky. They can be a little bit tricky, but it's really helpful for your students to just start to break those words up.
Yeah. And on those parts too, you can have them move different ways. Like today we're going to jump, but if that's not your jam, you're like, heck no, Jackie, my whole class is not jumping. Maybe we're going to do knee taps, or maybe it depends on the mood your kids are in, the day you've had. If it's holiday, if it's not a holiday, pick one that will work for you, or you can have them do the voices. So that way when they're doing like zebra, they can be like, what is it? They can be like, so they can hum it.
And this one says, now we're going to count the number of syllables in the word using motions or a silly voice together. So you could, can I make you do a silly voice?
Sure. Which would you like?
Oh, I kind of want you to do the dinosaur.
Okay.
Okay, the word I want to hear is yellow.
Yellow. My voice is bad. It's a bad dinosaur.
Very good. And then they would say 2. So they would say two syllables. And this flip book gets more difficult as it moves on. You start with just 1 and 2 syllable words. And then by the time you get to number 30, you have some that are 5, up to 5 syllables.
And it does.
Precipitation.
Yeah. It was kind of tricky to find some long words.
There's not very many with 5, but there's a few to practice.
Yeah. And that is on the teacher direction page too. It says like what pages have like 3 syllables, 4 syllables. So that way you know, like, okay, I have 3-year-olds. We're stopping at this point in the book. And also, it tells you what the student's answer is supposed to be and how many syllables. So if you're having, like, brain fog, and sometimes, like she said, syllables are hard, and I think it's chocolate. I used to say chocolate wrong, and then I made a unit, and I had it in the wrong section because I've said that word wrong my entire life. I added an extra syllable. So there are cheats in here because, again, you guys are dealing with behaviors and people coming and going and all of the things going on. So the answer is in here, so you don't have to think on your feet because some of these are hard to think on your feet all the time. Yeah.
And then rhyming, that one's next?
Yes.
And I cannot stress the importance of rhyming enough. And I think it's really sad because so many students that I talk to, 4th graders or kindergartners, or they don't know the rhymes, and it's any nursery rhymes, and it's really important for them to be able to be exposed to rhyme. The more they're exposed to it, the better it is for them.
Right. And I think a lot, too, if you're not doing nursery rhymes in your classroom, do music and movement. If you use YouTube for your music and movement time, there are, like, rap nursery rhymes that have, like, a fun tempo and a fun beat. But start doing more and more nursery rhymes in your classrooms because also we have our flip book has nursery rhymes, and it comes with a poem for each one. And the rhyme is underlined because some of them are kind of, I thought they were tricky. Like, me and her would text back and forth. Like, is this the rhyme? Like, or is this the rhyme? Because nursery rhymes are, again, sometimes they're tricky. So we underline them for you.
So each page has a different rhyme that you're kind of focusing on. So she was showing you the Jack be nimble, Jack be quick.
Yeah.
All right, so we're going to say 2 words that rhyme, and you repeat it back to me. When words rhyme, we hear the same middle and final sounds. I think that's important that you talk about the middle sound too, because sometimes they just want to listen for the final sound. Make a hand motion when you say each word. That's the teacher directions. So cat, hat, and at is the part we hear in both words. Fan, man,
And
then recognizing rhymes. I'm going to say 2 words, and you tell me if they rhyme by showing me thumbs up or thumbs down. Truck, duck. Pear, frog. And then for the nursery rhyme part, there's kind of 2 things to do. The first one, I'm going to say one line of the rhyme, then you say it. Jack be nimble.
Jack be nimble.
Did you hear any rhyming words yet? Not yet.
Not yet.
Jack be quick.
Jack be quick.
Jack jumped over the candlestick.
Jack jumped over the candlestick.
So quick and stick. Well, candlestick rhyme in that one. And then we can say what other words would rhyme with that, or if we break that compound word up, candlestick, into just stick. What else rhymes with quick and stick?
Quick, stick, lick, nick, thick,
Pick. Yep. So there's some on each page, or there's one on each page.
There's a different nursery rhyme for each page, so there's 30 nursery rhymes. And it would be really fun as you're doing this nursery rhyme book to, again, do these nursery rhymes like with like a beat, with music, because they're going to make connections to that song to the nursery rhyme that you're doing during the flip book.
It's such a quick time, too. You could bring a child up and let them pretend to be Jack and jump over a candlestick, or act out the rhyme however you want to.
Or if you're doing my nursery rhyme unit,
there you go.
That is the time to do the nursery or the rhyming flip book. It kind of goes hand in hand. It's perfect.
That's perfect.
Perfect to go together. And I know you have some, isn't it boom? The boom, is it boom cards?
And folder.
Folder nursery rhyme games.
Yeah, they just pull the pieces out and kind of
like a retelling, right?
Yeah, it's a retell, and all the pieces are in the front pocket.
And then we do have the CVC flip books. And again, if you teach 3s, you wouldn't be doing this. But if you teach pre-K, this is great to do at the end of the year. And if you teach kindergarten, literally start with alphabet knowledge and go all the way through. And I'll have her tell you really quick all the different parts of the manipulating sounds or a CVC.
So it's what's the word? I'm going to break up the sounds in a word, and I want you to repeat it and then say the word. So the first one is n.
Tan.
Dog.
Dog.
And then there's 4 of those. We're going to segment the phonemes. This is a little bit harder, but this is good for them. So we're going to tap our arm and then slide it when we say the whole word. The first word is pig.
P-I-G. Pig.
I'm going to say the end of a word and what sound to add to the beginning. You make the word. Ip. Add
Rip. Now that one's really tricky. So if your students are having trouble with the arm part where they're segmenting, just do those 2 parts and do the whole flip book for just those 2 parts. And then later, or maybe once you do that whole flip book, you can go back and you can do it again because they're not going to remember the words that you did. And then you can add in, and maybe you're not going to add in all the parts, but maybe you'll just add in the adding phonemes. Then there's a deleting phonemes and a substituting. And those skills are really, really tricky. So if your kiddos don't get to those in pre-K, that's okay. Because if they're segmenting, the kindergarten teachers are going to be so excited. Yes. Their phonological awareness is going to be off the charts, amazing. So those are tricky, but they're there, again, for kinder teachers to use, or if your kiddos are ready for them.
So that's when you start deleting and substituting. That's manipulation. So a lot of times kindergarten teachers can't figure out, why is a child not reading yet? It's because they need to do more practice. They need to practice that. They need to do, pig, and practice blending and segmenting the words.
Yeah. And so we made these flip books because, again, we want you guys to have something that's really easy, quick, fast, something that you don't have to think about, something that isn't another thing you have to plan out. You can just be like, compound words, page 12.
It's like a lesson plan done for you, but it's not a heavy lesson plan.
No.
It's exactly
what they
the kids need to just get a little bit of a head start with the science of reading. Yep.
And again, it's just 5 minutes. So, and if you use these in your classroom, you're going to see huge growth with your kids. And again, even if you don't use every part of every book, you're still going to see huge growth because it's the foundation for them for kindergarten and for them to read and to write. Because if they can't read it, they're not going to be able to write it. If they can't break up the sounds, they won't be able to break them up when they're writing them. So it's really like that strong base. And it's just a really fun and, again, super simple, super short, nothing to add on to your workload because it's scripted. And you guys know I'm not a scripted teacher kind of girl. But these are perfect because if you had to think of this on your feet, it would take so much brain power. And this way you can be fast. So,
and I've always said I don't like using a script for long, but a 5-minute one.
A 5-minute one is
a
perfect.
Quick drill that reminds me of what I need to teach to help them with their phonemic awareness. It's important.
And it gives you the specific language too in a very kid-friendly way, which I think that sometimes it's hard to think of on your feet.
This is kind of fun to have a kindergarten and preschool teacher talk about what is needed, and it was neat for us to make these together just because we could kind of put kindergarten and preschool thoughts together and what is needed when they move into kindergarten.
Yeah, because when we were making the some of the books, I'm like, oh, a 3-year-old or a 4-year-old isn't going to know that word yet. And she's like, really? I'm like, no. No, they're going to say.
She brings me back down.
Yeah. So she's like, in the kindergarten world, I'm like, oh, nope, these 3-year-old babies or pre-K babies won't know that. And she's like, oh, okay. And then she'll be like, I'm like, that is above my pre-K knowledge of science of reading.
But the truth is, there are so many kindergarten students that are so close to reading, and maybe they recognize the sounds, but they have not figured out how to blend them.
Right.
Just these little drills will help them so much.
And also, if you have a kiddo who's maybe struggling with syllables or rhyme, and you're pulling, and there's maybe a parent volunteer, or you have like a high school student, because I know in my district we had high school students come in a lot. You can literally give them this because, again, it's super scripted and super simple. You could probably go over it with them maybe. But they could do this at the beginning of their whatever small group they're doing, because if they're struggling with sounds, They can do this book at the beginning of their thing because, again, it's scripted and it's super simple for them to do. Mm-hmm. And you know that they're going to be teaching it the correct way because, it's scripted and it's super simple. And the kids will have fun and they'll love it. So we hope you love the flip books as much as we do. And if you're at the conference, we will see you guys tomorrow. Come up and say hi to us.
Say hi to us.
Yep. She's doing Science of Reading at the conference tomorrow. Me, light table and sensory bins. And
you're doing butcher paper activities.
Yep.
I'm doing Science of Reading 101 and Science of Reading in Action, where you see a lot of videos of kids doing different tasks and how you can bring it down to your classroom level.
Yes. So we hope you guys enjoyed this, and if you have questions, put them in the comments and we will come back and answer them. If not, you can grab all of these at wherever the links are, depending on where you're watching. Bye, guys.